Welcome everyone. Be'ezras Hashem, we're about to begin a new Mishnah on Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis. The Mishnah is discussing the third paragraph of Kriya Shema. Says the Mishnah, Mazkirin Yitzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. We remember Yitzias Mitzrayim at night. The word Mazkirin is used instead of Zoichrin because Mazkirin implies you mention, you remember with your mouth and not just in your heart. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Harei Hani ben Shivim Shona. I am like a 70-year-old man. And even though I toiled all my life in Torah, I was not zoiche to then find out what is the drasha, what is the source for how we learn Yetzias Mitzrayim is to be mentioned at night. Until Ben Zoma came and darshan the following verse. Shneimaz, it states, L'ma'an tizkor es yom tzeischa me'eretz Mitzrayim Kol yemei chayecha, so that you shall remember, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu took you out of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. Yemei chayecha hayomim, v'kol yemei chayecha haleilos. V'chachamim omrim, yemei chayecha ha'olam hazeh, kol yemei chayecha lahavi yemois haMoshiach. Says the Gemara to expound on this machlokes. Tanya, we have a brayso. Omar lehem ben zayim lechachamim. He said the following, are we going to indeed remember Yetzias Mitzrayim during the days of Mashiach? Behold, it already states in the following verse, behold, the days are coming, is the word of Hashem. There will no longer people be swearing by the living Hashem that He took us out of Mitzrayim. But rather, they're going to swear by the living Hashem that will take us up and bring us, the Zer Yisrael, from the lands that are up north, as well as from all the lands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu dispersed them. Amru loi. The response back to Rebbe Zoma was, Lo shete'aker Yetzias Mitzrayim min mekoyma. It doesn't mean that Yetzias Mitzrayim is going to be uprooted from its place. Elo shetei shibud malchios iker v'Yetzias Mitzrayim tofelo. But rather it's going to say that the Geula Asida is going to be the iker, and Yetzias Mitzrayim is going to be tofel in comparison to the nisan that will take place, begeula shlema. Kayotze bo'ata oimer. Similarly, we find the following. It says, Lo yikara shimcha od Yaakov, kim Yisrael yeshmecha. Your name will no longer be called Yaakov, but rather your name will be Yisrael. Lo she Yaaker Yaakov mimekoimo, eli Yisrael iker v'Yaakov toifelo. Rather, Yisrael will be the name that will be the Iker, the primary name that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to use for Yaakov Avinu. But Yaakov Avinu is not going to lose his name entirely, it'll be still secondary. V'cheinu oimer, and similarly we find, it says in the Pasuk, Al tizkeru rishonos, v'kadmonos al tizboinenu. Don't recall the first ones, and don't meditate on the earlier ones. Says the Gemara to explain, Al tizkeru rishonos, Ze shibud malchios. Don't remember the first ones, referring to the shibud malchios, the malchus of Bavel, of Modai, of Yovan. Don't remember them. The kadmonios, and the original ones, the first ones, al tizboinu, Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's referring to Yetzias Mitzrayim. Hineni oiseh chadosha, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I will make, behold, a new miracle. Ata titzmach, and now it's going to then sprout forth. Tani Rav Yosef comes to explain, Zu melchamois goig u'mogog. These are the tremendous miracles that will take place, la'osi lavoy, in the melchama of goig u'mogog. Moshel l'ma'adavar doime, the Gemara brings a moshel to explain the following. La'odam shahaya mahalich baderech, a person is traveling on the road. U'poga boi ze'ev v'nitzal mimenu, and he comes across a ze'ev, a wolf, and he is saved from that ze'ev. He goes and he tells everybody about the miracles that took place when he was saved from the ze'ev. Subsequently, he encounters an ari, a lion, and he is saved from the lion. And he tells people about the Maisa that took place, that he was saved from the Ari. Subsequently, Paga boy mimenu nachash, Paga bo nachash v'nitzol mimenu. Subsequently, he encounters the most dangerous type of snake, and he's saved from it. Shochach Maisa shneim, he forgets about the original two. And he only speaks about the miracles that took place with this Nachash, who is the greatest type of damager and is most difficult to escape from. Afkach Yisrael, Tzoros Achronois, Mishkachos is Arishonis. The miracles that will take place in the Melchemes Gog Magog are going to be so great, they're going to make the miracles that took place earlier pale in comparison. Avram hu Avraham. The pasuk says Avram without a hey. He is Avraham with the hey. B'tchila nase av le'oram. At first, when he was called Avram, he was the father of Aram, the place where he grew up. Ulevasoif nase av lechol ha'olam kuloi. And at the end, he's called Avraham, who became the Av Hamon Goyim, the Av of all of the nations, all of the people. Sorai, he's Sora. Sorai is Sora. Betchila nasi Sorai, l'umasoi. At first she was Sorai to those in her vicinity, people who she encountered. Ulevasoif nasi Sora. But at the end she became Sora. L'chol ha'olam kulo, to everybody in the world. So again, it implies that it doesn't mean that it's forgotten entirely. Only there's a primary name called Avram and a secondary name called Avram. There's a primary name called Sora, and there's the secondary, earlier name called Sorai. Tani Bar Kapora. Bar Kapora teaches the following. Kol HaKoreh le'Avram. Anybody who calls Avram, Avram without the hey. Oiver ba'aseh. He's going to then be over a mitzvah aseh, shenemar, v'hoya shimcha Avraham, and your name will be Avraham. Rabbi Eliezer oimer over belav. He will be over, he will be transgressing a lav, shenemar. It says in the very verse, v'lo yikore oid es shimcha Avram. Your name will not be called further Avram. So here it implies, not like we said before, but rather that the earlier name will be then gone away with entirely. Elame'ata, so the Gemara says, then be consistent. Hakara l'Sora Sorai hochenami. Then it should also be true when it comes to Sora. If you call Sora Sorai, that should also be an Avera. Hasam, says the Gemara, no. Kudsha brichu omar la'Avram. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Avram directly, personally, Sorai ishtecha lo tikore es shmo Sorai ki Sora shmo. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avram directly, only to him personally, that no longer should be called Sorai, but rather her name will be Sora. Elame'ata, asked the Gemara, Hakor Yaakov, Yaakov, then Hochanami, the one who says to Yaakov, Yaakov, also this should be true. And we know that's not so, because we find that the verse calls Yaakov, Yaakov, even after he's given the name Yisrael. Says the Gemara, no, shiny hasom, that's different. The Choda Ahadre Kro, because the Pasuk says, Dichsiv, Vayomer Elokim Yisrael, B'maras Halaylo, Vayomer Yaakov Yaakov. The verse itself says that he's called Yaakov even after giving the name Yisrael. Mosi Rabbi Yosi Bar Avin, Vitem Rabbi Yosi Bar Zvido. Rabbi Yosi Bar Avin, or you'll say Rabbi Yosi Bar Zvida, asked the following. Ato hu Hashem Elokim asher bocharta ba'Avram. There you see the verse says Avram without Avraham. Omar lei hasam novihu de komesad l'shvochei derachmona ma'dahava mi'ikoro. This is the Navi speaking the praise of Hashem, as the pasuk says asher bocharta ba'Avram v'yotzei simor kasdim v'samta shmo Avraham. And therefore it's a praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore it's not a stira to say that he's called Avram in this verse, because truly he's only called Avraham subsequently. Now we have a new parak, Be'ez Hashem. The Mishnah begins speaking about the kavanos in Kriya Shema. Says the Mishnah, Haya Kore B'Torah, one who reads in the Torah and he gets to the verses of Kriya Shema. He gets to the pasuk of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. V'gizman HaMikra, and the time of Kriya Shema now comes, and he has not yet said Kriya Shema. Im kivein liboy yotza. The Mishnah says if he was mechavein at the time where he now says Kriya Shema, he says Shema Yisrael, the whole pasuk, he's going to be yotzei. Baprokim, the Mishnah goes on to say Baprokim, which the Mishnah will momentarily explain what prokim are. It means between the brachos of Kriya Shema and between the paragraphs of the Kriya Shema. Shoya b'mnei hakavod umeshiv. If one asks how a person is doing because of kavod, because he encounters a zaken or a talmid chacham, for example, or can be meshiv, he can answer if it's between these paragraphs of Shema or between the brachos of the Kriya Shema. Ube'emtza, however, if it's in the middle, shoyel mipnei hayira umeshiv, he can only answer because of yira if it's going to be a king, let's say of the umos ha'olam who will kill him. So then he will answer, he will ask rather because of yira umeshiv, and he will be able to answer as well because of yira. Divrei Rabbi Meir. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir, that he can shoyel umeshiv in between the parshios of the Kriya Shema, in between the brachos, if it's because of kavod, and if it's in the middle, he can be shoyel umeshiv because of yira. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer be'emtza shoyel mibnei hayira umeshiv b'nei hakavod. He argues and is more lenient. He says when it comes to the middle, in regards to then asking, which is proactive, that I agree with you, that's only b'nei hayira. However, to answer back after somebody who had already asked you because of yira, so that you can even answer because of kavod. Uba prokim, and if you are in between the paragraphs of Kriya Shema or in between the brachos of Kriya Shema, shoyel b'nei hakavod, you could ask proactively because of kavod. Umeshiv shalom l'kolim, and whoever asks you, you can respond to anybody who will ask you if you're going to be in between the paragraphs or in between the brachos of Kriya Shema. Says the Mishnah weiter, describing and defining for us what are prokim. Elu bein haprokim. These are between the prokim. Bein bracha rishona leshnia, between the first bracha of Yotzeh or Uvorei Choshech, that concludes Yotzeh HaMa'oros, between that and when it starts Ahava Rabbah. Ben Shnia Lishma, between the second one when it concludes Haboicher B'Amo Yisrael Bi'ahava and Shema. Ben Shema Levahaya Im Shamoa, between Hashem Echad, rather between Uvisharecha and Vahaya Im Shamoa. Ben Vahaya Im Shamoa Levayomer, between the end of Haya Im Shamoya and the beginning of Vayomer. Ben Vayomer le'emes v'yatziv, and the end of Vayomer to the words emes v'yatziv. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ben Vayomer le'emes v'yatziv lo yafsik, between emes, between the Vayomer and the word emes v'yatziv, you cannot make a hefsek at all. Om Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, Lama Kodma Parsha Shema Levayim Shamoa. Now talking about the order of the Kriya Shema, we said there are three paragraphs. First one being Shema, the second one being Vahayim Shamoya, and the third one being Vayomer. Why in this order? Says the Mishnah, Om Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, Lama Kodma Parsha Shema Levayim Shamoya. Why is the Parsha of Shema preceding that of Vahayim Shamoya? After all, Shema is singular, Vahayim Shamoya is plural, and therefore we would think maybe Vahayim Shamoya should come before Shema. Says the Mishnah, Kedei sheyikaber alav ol malchus shamayim tchila, ve'achar kach mekaber olav ol mitzvahs. First, one needs to mekaber ol malchus shamayim, and take HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kingship upon himself. Once he recognizes HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the king, then he can then take upon all of those commandments to then serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the king. And therefore, first is Shema, and then V'haya im Shamoya. Ask the Mishnah, V'haya im Shamoya levayomer. Why is Vayam Shamoa precede Vayomer? We understand that Vayomer primarily is discussing tzitzis. And therefore, says the Mishnah, Shivahayim Shamoya nag ben bayom ben balayla. Because Vahayim Shamoya is referring to the mitzvahs as well as the Torah, which is both during the day and at night. Vayomer, which primarily discussing tzitzis, Eino nag ela bayom bilvad, is only noheg during the day, because it says urisem oiso uzachartem as called mitzvos Hashem, and therefore the tzitzis that you see is only during the day and not nohug balayla. Says the Gemara, Shma Mino, once we say that hayakore batara v'yagiyazman hamikra im kivein libo yatsa, if a person gets to the pasuk of Shema while he's learning the Torah and he's mechavein, then he will be yotzei the mitzvah Kriya Shema. Says the Gemara that this implies Shema Mina mitzvahs tzrichas kavana. This implies like the opinion that says that mitzvahs require kavana, that you're going to then fulfill a mitzvah of Hashem. And we know there is a machloikis whether you need to then have that kavana when performing a mitzvah or not. So it implies from this Mishnah l'chara, like the Man Da'omar, the opinion says, mitzvahs tzrichas kavana. Says the Gemara, no, my im kivein liboy, what is the intention when it says kivein liboy? It means likrois, it means to read. In fact, the Gemara asks, what do you mean it means to read? He's reading already the psukim in the Torah. Then when he gets to Kriya Shema, he realized he didn't say Kriya Shema, and then he is mechavin liboy. So ask the Gemara, v'hakakari? Likros v'hakakari, he's already reading. Answers the Gemara, b'kore lehagia. No, until now he's kore lehagia. He's reading to edit. And therefore he says, for example, ta'atofos, without the vavs, or mezuzos, mezuzas, to then imply whether it's with the vav or without the vav. He's not really reading the way a person should be reading the words. And therefore, when he gets to the Kriya Shema, and he's mechavein libo, to now korei, to read, then he's going to be yotzei. Even according to then this Man Da'omar, of course, ein tzrichos kavona. Says the Gemara, bringing a brisa, Tanu Rabbanon, in regards to the kavana, and the way we say Kriya Shema kiksava, diva Rebbe. Rebbe says that the Kriya Shema is to be said like it is written, and therefore only in Lashon HaKodesh. V'chachamim oimrim b'kol Lashon, in any language. My time the Rebbe. Why does Rebbe require that Kriya Shema say b'Lashon HaKodesh? Omar kro v'hoyu, because the pasuk says v'hoyu b'haviyasan yu, in the way that it is written. V'Rabbanan, my time Aihu. What's the reasoning of the Rabbanan who say you can say Kriya Shema in any language? Omar kro Shema b'kol Lashon she'ata shomeya, in any language that you can hear. Rebbe nami haksiv Shema, and Rebbe who requires that be done only in Lashon HaKodesh, what does he do with the word Shema? Hahumi boile hishome loiznecha mashata moitzi mipicha, that you have to hear the words that you're saying with your lips, and therefore that's what Shema is coming to then require. V'Rabbanan savrei lo kiman da'omar lo hishmiya lo ozno yatsa, whereas the Chachamim do not require that you hear the words that you are saying with your lips. U'Rabbanan nami haksiv v'hayu, but the Rabbanan who say you can say Kriya Shema in all languages, they also have to deal with the word v'hayu. What do they do with that word v'hayu? Hahu mi boiluhu. They explain it in the following manner: Shelo yikra lemafreya. You cannot read the Kriya Shema backwards. You can't say Uchsavtem los al yadecha v'hoylu totafos b'ninecha and then read the previous verse Uchshavtem los al yadecha and read the verse before that. Rather, you have to read Keseder. For Rebbe shelo yikra lemafreya minole. So Rebbe who does learn v'hoyu to teach me that has to be kivhayasan in the Lashon HaKodesh, the way it's written. So then what does he do with the word? What has he learned? The idea that he can't be read limafreya, backwards, out of order. Nafkale midivroim. It says v'hoyu hadvorim, and it could have said v'hoyu dvorim. The fact that it says v'hoyu hadvorim, midvorim hadvorim, the extra hey comes to teach us it has to be in order and not limafreya. Says the Gemara, v'rabon dvorim hadvorim lo darshi. They do not make a drasha on the extra hay of hadvorim. Ask the Gemara, lememra desava Rebbe dekol haTorah kula bekol loshin nemra. Does that imply that Rebbe holds that everywhere else, however, you can say in any language? It's only in Kriya Shema that he has a hakpada to say b'loshin hakodesh. But let's say in Birkas Hamazon, for example, that you can do in any language. Because if you are going to then say that you can say it only in Lashon HaKodesh, Birkas HaMazon, then why then over here does it have to be said v'hoyu? If he says all the time you can only say in Lashon HaKodesh. No, itzrich, you need, for the following reason, Mishum dechsiv shma, in order to neutralize the drasha of Shema, that you can hear it in any language, he has to say v'hoyu is dafka Lashon HaKodesh. Lememra de savri rabbana de kol haTorah kula b'Lashon HaKodesh nemra. Does that imply that the Chachamim say that everywhere else you have to say dafka b'Lashon HaKodesh, and only here in Kriya Shema you can say in any language? Because if you will suggest that he can say everywhere else in any language, then Shema, the Kotzerach Monolamali, why does he then say you need Shema to teach me that in Kriya Shema you can say in any language? Itzrich, we need it, Mishum Dechsiv V'hoyu, in order to neutralize the word V'hoyu, as not to learn V'hoyu is Davka Lashon HaKodesh, but rather Shema comes to teach me in any language.